Jonathan with Iron Mind Hypnosis here. I want to share a kind of a little bit of a mental trick that sometimes is useful for folks. Imagine you're faced with a tough decision, or maybe it even seems like an obvious but painful decision. Maybe you're the boss, or you're working in a company and it's looking like, you got to get rid of somebody. Maybe it's a financial thing. There's not enough business to go around. Maybe it's a competence thing, like this person is kind of not great at the specific thing everyone thought they were there for. Whatever the thing. And your options are, in the first case, maybe keep them, the company goes broke, and everybody loses their job, or terminate them and they lose their job and maybe everybody else doesn't. Perhaps it's the quality of work situation. You keep them and you drive away the customers and maybe the company closes. You get rid of them and you've lost that job's, you've lost that person and they've gone through termination. Just to pick a particular example. Now, imagine if this is a super obvious thing and everyone agrees, then you probably aren't consulting a YouTube for what you should be doing. But if there's some part of you that is not on board with this, or maybe they're dissenting opinions, then one way to get more options is to actually restrict yourself. So you've thought of two options: keep them, get rid of them. Eliminate both of those options. Just take both of them completely off the board. You're not going to continue as is. That's you've already decided that that's not working for you. You're not going to do that. You're not going to terminate them because there's some reason you don't like that option either. That one's gone too. They're both gone. Now it's time to come up with something else. In fact, this would be a great time to come up with maybe a dozen different options that are neither of those two things. Now, I don't know what your situation is that's got you going. I don't know what two or maybe even three options you have that you may not like. You might not have any particular pleasure in the idea of any of these things. They all seem terrible to you. Well, wipe them all off the list. You're not going to consider these for this thing. Now, of course, you can go on and ignore me. I can't do much to stop that. So you can always go back to the plans you already had. But for this exercise, put yourself in the mindset of, for some reason, it is strictly impossible to do either of the two or three things that you thought up first, that you were wrestling with. They're completely off the table. You are not going to continue to suffer with things the way they were. And you are not going to, whatever the other thing was that you didn't go through with yet. Whether it's terminate the person or have a big blow-up argument with your partner, or whatever. The options A and B are both no longer options. You're not even going to think about them for this. So if you've got to do something and your first option or two was not it, what are you going to do? What are you going to do that satisfies what you need? It's a great time to do a little brainstorm. It's so easy to get caught up in the first couple of things that we think of, especially if we've got emotions around them. We can cycle around those things, thinking the same thoughts. Most of us actually live our lives thinking most of the same thoughts that we've always thought before. There's thoughts are there, but no thinking is really going on. You're experiencing thoughts. So if you block out those options and go searching for new thoughts, you're going to have, again, if you generate 12 more options. Now, none of these have to be brilliant. This is like a brainstorming exercise. In fact, if you start judging which ones are brilliant or not, or whether they're better or not than the things we already said you weren't thinking about, well, you've started thinking about them again, so none of that. But if you start weighing them ahead of time, it cuts off the flow of new ideas. If the ideas have to immediately justify themselves, have to have a structure to defend themselves, have to seem reasonable to everyone. No, just come out with the ideas and flesh them out later. Ideas first, structure to them, how they work. Maybe you combine a couple of them together later. A lot of things seem impossible. A lot of things seem difficult. And a lot of times, there are people and places where almost everyone is doing things the hard way. And if you look carefully enough, you can find what's called positive deviance in these cases. People are doing things differently, and it's better, even though they're in just as hard a situation as everybody else. They're consistently better. So don't get trapped in the old way of thinking that maybe 98 out of 100 people in your same situation would be going right to the same thoughts. It's perfectly reasonable, it's perfectly justifiable to think those thoughts, but they will get you the results that just everybody gets. If you want to use your brain, your personality, your creativity for something new and beautiful in the world, to add some art to this world, well, you got to step out and do some of your own thinking. So wipe out those options that you were trying to choose between before, and come up with as many new options as you can. And later, you can flesh them out and try to see how might, not how would, but how could this work? If it couldn't work, why couldn't it work? What would have to change to make that workable? So there's just a couple of ideas on how you can deal with situations that you don't like. Just don't do either of the things you don't like. Go looking for something new if you don't like your options. Have a wonderful day. Be creative. Take care.